Welcome to the offseason. It's starting to look like USC might have a quarterback situation developing.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Wherever you're going to watch this podcast, well, you can only watch it on YouTube. That's always free. And wherever you download it, it's always free. And you always know how much I appreciate your support. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now, new customers, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, is there a quarterback situation developing for Lincoln Riley during the offseason? And at first I was saying, you know what? No, there's not. Well, maybe it is. Maybe there is, depending on how you want to view the situation. We're one day into the new year. January 2nd is when I'm recording this episode of Locked on USC. You're watching it on January 3rd, making your first listen every day. There's speculation starting to surface that Jayden Maiava is heading to the Miami Hurricanes. His name hasn't shown up in the transfer portal yet. And let me just remind everybody that the window we're working with here. So December 28th was it's one day after USC played in the Las Vegas Bowl. December 28th is the day that the transfer portal window closed. And you're allowed, once your game has been played, your postseason game, you're allowed 5 days. So it's been 5 days since USC played on December 27th. Portal closed a day after. Now, I believe the window is completely closed. You can't not just submit your name in out of the blue today. With that said, there is a gray area there. As long as Jayden did notify USC's compliance office or made it known that he wants to put his name into the transfer portal, they can figure out how to backdate that. Why am I talking about this? Well, apparently, according to the Miami sources, it's going to happen. Jayden Maiava is transferring to the Hurricanes. Is there any validity to this? I have no idea. Zero idea. I'm just kind of rolling with the news as it's coming out. But if there is any truth, Jayden's name will have to surface, I would think within the next 24 hours, right? So we'll see what happens. There's another angle here that we might want to consider. And again, this rumor started with on the Miami Hurricanes On3 message board. And then their publisher got involved and said, hey, it could be happening. So we'll see. But I'm going to look at this from more from a cynical point of view. What if Jayden's already pressing for a pay raise? He has no intention of leaving right now. In other words, what I'm saying is he's not going to be in the transfer portal in this December window, this winter portal, but the spring window is just a few months away. So let's start the negotiations now. USC's 5-star quarterback commit, Husan Longstreet. He'll be taking classes when they start January 13th, just a couple weeks away. He's already studying the playbook. He's on the team. And I've had more than one person who watches football professionally for a living. They've told me that, hey, Husan's going to be the starter day one. Count on it. Take it to the bank. So when USC hosts Missouri State August 30th, I've had, again, more than one person who watches a lot of football. They actually do it professionally. That's what they do for a living. Say that, yeah, don't be shocked if Husan is the starting quarterback. I guess that's the perfect time for me to remind everybody, keep your countdown clock, rip off the calendar. 239 more days to go. Yeah, we're almost there. Again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but right now, Coach Riley, his quarterback room consists of Jayden Maiava, Hussam Longstreet, a couple of good walk-ons. You've got Gage Roy, you've got Dylan Gebbia, another freshman, redshirt freshman, Jack Stupin, but that's it. Look, I've told you multiple times. If you're an everyday viewer of the show, everyday listener, you've heard me say it. Coach Riley is going to be bringing in a transfer portal quarterback. Question is now, what type of quarterback and how many quarterbacks, if there's any truth to this rumor? The dead period ends, I believe, officially January 3rd. This weekend, USC is actually hosting a couple of quarterbacks. Their names are being withheld. I don't know the names, but our recruiting guru for this show, Scott Schrader, over there on wersc.com. So there's a couple of quarterbacks unnamed. Names are being withheld for a reason that will be visiting USC over the weekend. So what I find interesting about that is, they're keeping it on the low end. They want to make sure they have the best opportunity to sell what they have to sell without other programs saying, all right, USC wants them, now we want them. In other words, when one of these young men leaves campus, they're going to have somebody's signature on the dotted line. I think that's their approach. I don't know what will happen. Now, so I mentioned you got a couple of unnamed quarterback prospects that are supposedly taking visits this weekend. And we'll see if Pierce Clarkson, who may or may not take a visit, he has some Division I experience at Louisville, maybe USC and Louisville are making a trade. They've got Miller Moss now. We'll see how that shakes out depending on, who USC is looking at. I don't think Pierce comes in and challenges for the starting job. That's just my outlook on things. I don't think he's a step above Jayden Maiava. And he's definitely not a step above Hussam Longstreet. Again, this is just my perspective on it. With that being said, how would you guys feel if one of those quarterbacks that are visiting this weekend is Mark Gronowski? The quarterback from South Dakota State. 6'3", 230 pounds. He's a redshirt junior. His coach is taking over the Washington State Cougars job. No one feels like he's going there. He's either going to go to the NFL or he's going to go to a major program. I'm not knocking Wazoo. He wants to put his game on the big stage. So Mark got some game. He's an FCS All-American. He's led his team to a pair of national titles. So he's going to get a lot of interest, regardless if USC is interested or not. What's kind of funny is coming out of high school, nobody showed that young man any interest. He's from Naperville, Illinois. But once he got to college, he started immediately as a freshman. He won back-to-back national championships in 2022 and 2023. He was a part of the 2019 recruiting cycle. And then you have the whole COVID thing. So, and he redshirted in 2021. So he has this extra year of eligibility left. Again, once he got to college, he took over, started as a freshman. COVID, redshirt 2021, and then back-to-back national championships in 2022, and 2023. And then his team actually lost in the semifinals on their way to a three-peat. So the dude's a winner. That's somebody you want in your locker room. He's also very athletic for his size. You heard me say 6'3", 230 pounds. Not afraid to use his legs. He can scoot. And I think he's actually more mobile than Jayden, at least by my eyes. Let me give you some of his numbers that he put up, that he produced for the Jackrabbits. I'll just go over his last 2 years. So in 2023, 209 completions, 307 attempts. He completed 68% of his passes, 3,058 yards, almost 10 yards per attempt, 29 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. It's a 179.7 rating. This past season, 206 completions, 338 passing attempts, almost 61% completion percentage. That's really good still. 2,721 yards. His yards per attempt dropped down to 8. 23 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. He might have made up for it using his legs. In 2023, 93 carries, 402 yards. He averaged over 4 yards per carry, and he scored 8 touchdowns. 2024, 98 carries, 380 yards, 4 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. So again, he's a really good player. And in just to kind of show you what he did in the championship seasons, 2022, 2023. In 2022, he ran the ball 111 times, 408 yards, 12 touchdowns. So yeah. You notice when I was talking about his touchdown to interception ratio, he protects the ball. This guy fascinates me. He's got similar size to Jayden, but he's got more accomplishments. Again, he's coming from a winning program. He's tasted victory. He's held up the trophy twice. He was also the Walter Payton Award winner, best offensive player in the FCS. If you want to get Longstreet ready for 2026, which I think is the game plan, and you don't want to force them onto the scene too early because you can wreck a freshman quarterback when you play them too soon, I think Gronowski would be the perfect mentor. Perfect mentor. And just to be clear, okay, let me make sure everybody understands this. I have no idea if this is happening. Whether or not Jayden Maiava is in the transfer portal, heading to Miami. Again, I've heard that Miami already has their quarterback once the Longhorn season ends. But I'll tell you what, if USC has a chance to get Gronowski for 1 year, yeah, go get him. Just let the situation play itself out. I still think Lincoln Riley needs 2 quarterbacks. We'll see what happens. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. And FanDuel is going to give you a variety of ways to win. You want to get that W? Get on over to FanDuel. You just don't have to pick who's going to win the game. You can also bet on which players will score a touchdown. How many points will each team score? Who's going to kick a field goal? And there's a whole bunch more ways you can win. Just visit FanDuel.com. Join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So I've been conversating with you guys about USC's linebacker situation. I've been talking about it. I mentioned in the first segment, dead period, it's over. So not only will USC be, hosting a couple of quarterbacks, they have quite a few visitors checking out USC this weekend, including a linebacker. Yeah, position of need. He's from the University of Pittsburgh. He's a former On3 top 50 prospect. His name is Jordan Bass. He's from Hampton, Virginia. So besides the quarterbacks, besides the linebacker, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Bass's game here in just a second. USC is also bringing in a running back to visit. He just got done playing at Hutchinson Community College, and he's currently committed to the University of Central Florida. His name is Waymon Jordan Jr. Not sure why USC has this fascination with UCF commits, but they seem to go after quite a few of them. Don't forget, D. Reddick, he's coming to USC. As far as Jordan Bass, USC, Virginia Tech, Kansas, UNLV, they've all offered the sophomore. USC offered the young man back on December 23rd. As a true freshman in 2023, Bass played 10 games. he finished the season with 11 tackles and 2 tackles TFLs. This past season, he played in 9 games, finished with 14 tackles. 4 of those included a tackle for loss. He also had a sack, but he also suffered a season-ending injury against Virginia that required a little bit of surgery. So, remember the fit Pittsburgh head coach Pat Narduzzi threw when USC took Jordan Addison away, claimed there was tampering. Well, USC is going after his best recruit from the 2023 recruiting class. He was their top-ranked commit. He was their only 4-star prospect. He's an athlete. He also he might remind you a little bit of Eli Newby. Newby played more linebacker, defensive end type, but he also played wide receiver on offense. So did Bass. Bass played safety and wide receiver in high school. 6'4", 230 pounds. But everybody out of high school recruited him to play linebacker, and that's where he plays. That's his position. Last season, he took 115 snaps on defense and 57 on special teams. His overall Pro Football Focus grade of 67.4 would have finished 11th among USC defensive players with at least 100 snaps. So he's not bad. He's a pretty good fundamental player. And he's pretty good at playing against the run as well. His 67.3 run defense grade would have been number 14 on USC's roster. That would have put him behind Nate Clifton and just ahead of Sam Green, who we now know is a Kentucky Wildcat. As far as his pass rush grade, he would have been number 3. He had 18 pass rush snaps against, of his 115 snaps on defense, 18 were considered rushing the passer. Now, at Pittsburgh, he played outside linebacker. Unfortunately for him, the guys in front of him with a year of experience, they were pretty good as well. They were all conference. So what I like about Bass is his size. Again, he also played safety in high school. He's an athlete. He can move. 6'4", 230 pounds. I like the fact that he's coming into USC and he's adding some size. And that's what USC needs in that room right now. Besides bodies, they also need size. They also still need a linebacker coach. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Lynn, Dan Lynn, is going to sell this. Maybe he'll say, hey, look, you can't tell anybody, but we know who our linebacker coach is. I've told everybody, my everydayers who watch Locked On USC, I think Lynn knows who it is as well. He's probably still coaching the NFL, and that's why no name has been announced yet. If it is an NFL coach, I don't know why you have to keep it a secret. If it's a college coach, I get it. I understand it. If he's coming from the NFL, just name the coach already, for crying out loud. Look, you have the linebacker, you've got quarterbacks, you got a running back showing up. There's also an offensive lineman coming. Former Purdue offensive lineman, his name is DJ Wingfield. This is one of the young men who is taking advantage of the ruling that's affecting the junior college players. Remember, if you play junior college ball, you get to rewind your time clock. Those years don't count against you. So he got in touch with Zach Hansen, and he's going to be on campus this weekend as well. He started all 12 games last year for Purdue at right guard. USC already has a starting right guard. We know that's Alani Noah. But he's got experience playing at New Mexico. The year before, he was at Purdue. He was a New Mexico Lobo. He started at right tackle for the Lobos in 2023. So, is he coming in to take a starter spot? No. But he is coming back to Southern California, and he gives you some depth, and he gives you some experience. He's originally from Southern California. He went to Redondo Union High School. He also went to El Camino JC out of high school. And then he spent 2 years at New Mexico before transferring to Purdue. So again, experienced depth piece. That's what you're getting. It's good from right now going forward, since dead period is over and you got the February signing period. It's going to be a really busy time of the year. Lincoln Riley is going to have his head on a swivel. The entire coaching staff, they're going to be hosting players, trying to fill specific needs, and still fill out that 2025 high school recruiting class. So we'll see what happens. We know USC needs a quarterback. I said it. Maybe two, depending on what happens. They need help at linebacker, offensive line. Maybe another impact guy on the defensive line. If I hear some news, you'll hear some news. We got one more segment to go. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about, or maybe did you know you were paying for twice? Rocket Money has made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and it monitors your spending, and it also helps lower your bill so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even those goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. And it saves their members up to $740 a year when they use all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions. Reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. It's Friday. It's time for my rant. Oh, man. Happy New Year. Remember how everybody was whining about the 14 playoff? We need to expand the playoff field. The SEC, they have a monopoly on the whole thing. They're owning it, yada, yada, yada. It's not fair. We need to expand the playoff field. Guess what? We did. Guess what? Now everyone's complaining that there's too many teams. You guys are freaking, I don't know, man. I don't know. Whatever. Sometimes I think people just go whichever way the wind's blowing. Oh, that sounds cool. Let's go that direction. Stop it. Give it a chance, right? Tweak it. Fix it. Are there ever going to be 12 legitimate national championship contenders? Of course not. If we're being honest and we're being pragmatic, no. But that doesn't mean we should cut the number down. I don't know. Would 8 be a good number? All right. I'll consider that compromise. But now all of a sudden, you got Nick Saban. He's even turning into a little baby back B word. Of all the people to be complaining, he's probably the last one. The very last person to be complaining about, things being equal. You already know how I feel about Oregon and their fans. They are the least sophisticated fan base in the country. Born on third base, think they've won something. They've never done anything. But they'll tell you, hey, look at us. Hey. No, just sit there. Get your ass handed to you for good reason. So all of a sudden, you've got the Oregon fan base. They're already upset. Number 1 seed. Their dreams crushed. Nick Saban, during, I guess before the Notre Dame-Georgia game, starts appealing to the Duck fans that are in the basement, still living at mom and dad's house. This is what he said. If I was an Oregon fan, I have to say this because this kind of bothers me. You're 13-0, you're the number 1 seed, and you got to play Ohio State in your first round. I'm not an internet guy, but if I was an Oregon fan, I'd be on the internet screaming about that, living in my mother's basement. Nick Saban didn't think it was fair that Oregon had a bye week and then they had to play Ohio State in their first game of the playoffs. Who freaking who? Oh, by the way, Side note, Nick Saban picked Ohio State to beat Oregon before that game was even played. All I'll say is this. I thank God the basketball teams don't act like this. There's 68 teams in March Madness. If you're the number 1 seed, typically your first game is against the 16 seed. Guess what? When you beat the 16 seed, guess who you're typically playing? Yep. Either the 8 or 9 seed. What was Ohio State? The number 8 seed in a 12-team format. Eventually, you got to play the good teams. And if you got a bye week to prepare, what are you whining about? Maybe we should play 16 teams. Let's go bigger. No bye weeks for anybody. How's that? 1 versus 16, and then round 2. Get the 8 seed. And you can have 2 home games, right? So let's do that way. Let's go to 16 teams. Nobody gets a bye week. And if you're one of the top 4 seeds, you get 2 home games, as long as you keep winning. Just go out there and beat the team in front of you. Stop whining about it. Stop crying. Don't say, well, Penn State played SMU and Boise State. They were the big conference runners-up to Oregon. Meanwhile, Penn State, now they've advanced to the semifinals. They're playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame played in a game. Had to fly down to Louisiana to beat Georgia. I don't know, it's kind of interesting that the teams that got a bye week are eliminated. The top 4 seeds, they've all been eliminated. Weird, huh? ASU came close. They might have got jobbed a little bit. Texas is very lucky that they're still playing. Oregon's problem wasn't that they had to play the Buckeyes. It's that they looked completely unprepared to play the Buckeyes. I'll say it again. If you are national championship material, you don't go into halftime down 34-8. Not when you're the number 1 seed. Not when you had less distance to travel. Remember, for USC playing in the Rose Bowl, it's always a home game when the Buckeyes had to fly out from Columbus. Granted, Eugene's a little bit further away from the Rose Bowl than USC's campus. Still, give me a break. Same time zone. For those of you who like to play that card. Here's the problem. I think the college football right now, they can't go halfway. Right now, they are halfway in being collegiate, and they're halfway into trying to be like the NFL. Just go all the way in. Seed the playoffs the same way the NFL does it. In fact, let's just hire a commissioner. Just end this whole charade, because right now, Lil Nicky Saban, Kirk Herbstreit, somebody has to save them from saying really dumb things that they probably don't even really mean. But because they work for ESPN, and ESPN paid a boatload of money to televise the SEC, they got to come across as shills, making the argument, the case for those guys. All right. So yeah, no. Stop complaining about the first 12-team playoff format. Figure it out. Fix it. There's ways to tweak it so the number 1 seed doesn't have to play the 8th seed. Oh, no. Remember, you beat Ohio State earlier in the year. Whatever. Somebody's always looking for something to complain about. And that's why I have a Friday Rant, so I can complain about something. One last thing before I get out of here. Since we're talking about NIL and the universities eventually paying their players, putting them on a payroll. If schools can afford to pay their players, basically it's going to be $100,000 a year. I think that's probably going to be the low end. Then find a way to make sure every parent who has to travel from out of town has their expenses paid for every game, airfare and hotel. Again, it's not always equitable. I get it. Some NIL deals are a lot better than others. Did you know that last year there was a player on USC's roster whose family had their own private jet? Yeah. They had access to a private jet every time they had to fly in to watch USC play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've heard that from a couple of sources. One high-end recruit got that benefit. How do you think that plays in the locker room? How do you think that makes people feel? That's the game we play today. That's the end of this week's episodes of Locked on USC. I intend to be at the USC versus Michigan basketball game this weekend, so I'll see what happens there. I'll definitely have my feedback after being at the game. And I'll also be back with another 5 episodes next week. So thank you for making Locked on USC your first listen, your first watch every day. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're watching on YouTube, click that red subscribe button, smash that thumbs up. It really, really, really helps the show. And then when you're done over here, get on over there to wearesc.com. They'll take care of you. I've got my written content, Eric McKinney, Scott Schrader with recruiting information, Chris Arledge. We got you covered. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.